What's going on, everyone? So this is a big topic in the Honkai Star Rail community, but today I want to go over horizontal versus vertical investment. Should you go the horizontal route by having a whole bunch of characters that are decently invested but not anything crazy at your disposal? Or should you go the vertical investment route where you have a small cast of characters, a small roster, or a relatively small roster at least, but this roster does the job. They are highly invested, eidolons, best in slot lycons, all of that kind of stuff. So the answer to which one is better really depends at the end of the day. It's such a nuanced answer to where I don't think that there is a definitive answer. But for me personally, I like to lean towards both. I like to have a whole bunch of characters, but some of them are E0 S0 and some of them like Sparkle are E3 S1. So some have some investment, but others have high investment. Now I'll use myself as an example to describe how I like to play the game, but this doesn't of course apply to everyone. Now for me, I like to go with E0 S1 or E0 S0 DPSs. I try to keep the DPS investment at a minimal level. I understand that, despite all the power creep talks, you can clear the end game with older DPSs. It just requires more investment. And I personally have not found myself a DPS who I care, enough about to invest into long term. I put all of my resources and efforts more so into my supports, specifically the ones that I do plan on using in the long term. Like I said earlier, Sparkle is a prime example. I have Sparkle leveled. She's invested all the way, build and everything. She's at E3 S1 as a free to play player. I plan on running Sparkle in the long term, and I'm not gonna bench my E3 S1 Sparkle for someone like an E0 S1 Sunday. I like to go all in on supports because I know that DPS power creep is more prevalent than support power creep. So if I invest into a handful of supports, that's it. I don't need to replace these supports for a long time. Now, if we're talking like Bronya, she needs a whole bunch of investment. I think E6 S1 is like the minimum for her to be Sunday level. But she's still a good support nonetheless. She's definitely from another era. But if we're talking limited units, you can definitely invest a whole lot into them and they will take you far. I don't think my Sparkle's gonna fall off anytime soon. But the thing is, with my other supports, they don't quite hit the same. Tribi and Surrender on my account are E0, S0, right? I don't have enough investment into them, but that's not necessarily because I don't want to invest into them. It's just a matter of I don't have enough pulls to go for Eidolons and their best in slot Lycons. Otherwise, I would. Which brings us back to the topic of vertical over horizontal investment. I think finding a median is going to be your best bet here if you want to play it safe. Because on one hand, you have a whole bunch of units at your disposal. Like I said earlier in the video, the endgame is extremely dynamic, and a team comp that works in one rotation might not work the next refresh. Just because Dot works now in version 3.5 doesn't mean that it's going to work in version 4.0. I still think Dot will be viable by then, but at the same time, you never know. Right? Having some older DPSs on standby, it's always a good idea, but I think supports is where a lot of investment long term should be thought out and put into. Again, DPSs are fine, but supports is just where it's really at. And this isn't even just about harmony units or buffing units. Someone like Silver Wolf has a lot of longevity. She has a whole bunch of value now because of the buffs, and she is still a unique character. The unit that comes closest to her kit would probably be Cypher, but even then, they do totally different things. They're paired into totally different team comps and they're fundamentally different. Now, is Silver Wolf worth investing vertically into? I don't know. That depends on your account. But I think the whole horizontal versus vertical investment thing at the end of the day is, I'm not going to say it's blown out of proportion, but it's kind of blown out of proportion because I think at the end of the day, free to play whale, Lifespender, Leviathan, no matter what, it should all depend on you. I like to go horizontal investment personally. I like having a whole bunch of characters. I never use the exact same team comps every single endgame refresh. There are some characters who I will always use, like my Sparkle, but there's also characters who I might bench. For example, one instance I might use Saber, the next I might go back and use the Herda because maybe the Herda is better. Maybe I just like the Herda's playstyle more and I just want to use her with my modern supports. I could even throw Jinglu into the mix and probably get a decent clear with her at E0S1. So I love the horizontal aspect, horizontal investment. I like having a bunch of characters on standby. DPS, supports, sustains, it doesn't really matter. But vertical investment, I would probably say, is more so for the people who genuinely love the characters that they have. I think, vertically investing into the characters you love the most, whether it's their design, their kit, doesn't really matter, it is going to take you far enough as long as you do proper investment. Not just getting analyzed in their Lycones, but making sure that their builds are up to date, they're speed tuned properly, because if they are, then you will clear with those units. You can theoretically clear the end game right now with Sealy and get the max stars if you have enough investment, which most people don't want to do because that takes a lot of investment, but some people love Sealy that much. You totally can go with the vertical investment route, even if it's not Sealy and it's someone who's more modern, right? Maybe someone like Firefly will work. There's people who are getting clears with Firefly with high investment amounts of just their whole break team has a high investment to it. Firefly, Lingsha, all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes they might even use Bronya for the action events. It totally can work. And whether you do horizontal or vertical, you should still be clearing the end game regardless. I don't think it matters as much as people make it out to be. Just do whatever works best for you. And I will probably always say this at the end of every video, but Honkai Star Rail is an easy game. This is an easy as game. You can either go with the vertical investment route and vertically invest into your older units and make them still work, or you can continue pulling for the newer meta units every single time and making them work. Regardless, you're still gonna get the max star clears at the end of the day. So unless you genuinely love the process of going for 0, 1, 2 cycle clears, it's not something that you have to worry about too much. Even if you're quote unquote falling behind and you still get a 10 cycle clear in MOC, it's not something that you have to worry about at the end of the day, really. Because I skipped casters, my only DPSs were the Herd and Firefly up until, well, I got fine on, up until 3.4, and I was still clearing the endgame just fine. Yes, I felt the impact of skipping casters, and at the same time not vertically investing into my units because I was essentially saving from 3.0 until 3.4, but I was still getting by just fine. I haven't missed a single star so far, and I probably will not long term because of the lack of difficulty for this game. So do what works best for you, pull whoever you want. If it's someone who's not that good, or at the very least not that synergetic on your account, then build them accordingly with the units you already have, and they will work wonders. They're gonna go so far on your account, you don't even gotta sweat it. But that's about it. I'll see y'all. Goodbye.